Hello, beautiful. How are you for the bonus day, day 6 of our 5-day incoming paper challenge? Today's bonus live video is just here to encourage you, answer any questions that you have, and share some final tips and tricks that I have for your action file. But this weekend, right now it's Saturday, this weekend is a great time to finish up on your action file, practice working with it, ask any questions in the group or here in the live, even if you're not on the live right now. If you're watching the replay later, you can still ask questions in the comments. I'll be watching the comments throughout the weekend and throughout the week as well. So this is a perfect time to catch up. I see Wanda already said hi. Welcome, Wanda. It's great to see you today. And as you hop on, let me know who you are and where you're joining me from over in the comments. I always like to see that each morning as well. But today, like I mentioned, I'm focusing on answering any questions that you have about your action file. This is the file for all of your incoming papers that can handle every single paper that comes into your life. You can do one for your regular household. You can also, if you work from home or have an office, you can build a similar type of file for your office environment too. So it's all based on the actions of our papers. And I'll be sharing a few more tips and tricks about your action file, but now is your chance. If you have questions, then I would love, love, love to answer any of those questions and get you moving on your action file this weekend so you guys can wrap it up and start really using it and embracing it. I see Wanda's here from North Carolina. Susie's here from Maryland. Welcome, Susie. It's great to have you here. And if you have any questions at all, then use the comments and ask your questions, and I will try to answer them here live. I see Sarah is here. Sarah's here from Bradenton, another Florida gal. Welcome. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. So we're right down the road from each other. I went to USF in Tampa, actually. All right, so the action file. With the action file, as you work on it this weekend, just remember it does not have to be perfect to start working. So use whatever supplies you happen to have on hand. That's absolutely okay. And just get the process started. And you might start and then fall off the wagon and have to restart. This is definitely a new way of thinking sometimes for a lot of us. So don't worry if you're not perfect with this from the very beginning. That is absolutely okay. We're not going for perfect. I like to call it imperfectly perfect. That's what we're going for. So whenever you feel like you've fallen behind on anything, not just the action file, but your papers, or if you're overwhelmed, just remember, take a small bite or take a break, reset, and then start again, because you've absolutely got this. And once you get in the rhythm of it, which this one's very easy to get into the rhythm of, once you get into the rhythm of it, then it will be such an easy dream come true. So you've absolutely got this. Cindy says, I am way behind. Can you recap the tab labels? I absolutely can, Cindy. That is a great question. So with the tabs, the core tabs that we have within the action file are to do. Let's see if I can hold these up right. So we've got to do. So anything that has an actual action where you have to do something with it besides the actions that are in the other tabs. To enter, so this would be, if it's not the paper itself that's important, it's just the information on it, and that information can be entered somewhere else, such as a business card that can either be scanned or put in your contact book, or passwords. If you jotted down a password really quickly, then entering it where you store your passwords. Anything that is just the information can go into enter. To read, if you don't have an actual action that you need from it, and you just need to read it through before even deciding if there is an action that you have to do, then it can pop into to read. And once you read it, then you'll know what the next action is. Sometimes it's just, if it's a magazine that you put into read, then you can just let it go. If it's like your insurance policy that you decided to review, then if you had anything new that you needed to change in it, then you can pop it over to do or to file. Then you have to scan. If you scan your papers before you file them, or you scan them before you let them go, then to scan is a great folder to tuck them in, and then you can just scan all at once instead of having to scan one off every once in a while. And then finally to file. And it's just, if it's a paper that does need to make it into your final archive file cabinet, then it should go into file. And with all of these folders, remember, the only one that you have to build a habit around checking is to do, because all of the rest of them, when they get full, they can get done. If you've not entered something from your to enter folder yet and you need the information, that's okay. If it's not already in your contact book, look in your to enter file. The same thing with to read, to scan, to file. Nothing's going to happen to them while they're in there. So there's no urgency to go through any of those. The to do is the only one that we'll build a habit around. And we talked a little bit about habits before, but I mentioned with the to do folder, since we do want to build a habit with this one, if you're really good at following events on your calendar and following through, or put a reminder on your phone. If you have your phone and that reminders app can pop up either once a week, once a day, however often you feel like you need to check your to-dos, then you can put reminders right on the things that are already right near you, whether it's your paper planner or your phone. Make sure to put it right in sight and then create a habit of a specific date or time, or a linked habit. Like maybe every time if you like to sip a cup of tea and read a book on Sunday mornings, maybe you flip through your to-do really fast before then. So just make it a habit. If you're really good at that kind of structure, those are some great ways to do it. Now, when you are checking your to-do folder, remember, you don't have to actually do the items when you check your to-do folder. So when that reminder pops up, don't panic that now you have to do all the stuff in your to-do folder, because that will completely derail you and you will definitely not want to do it when it pops up. Just remember, with your to-do folder, what I like to do is when it's the time that I'm going to check my to-do folder, I simply go through the folder and I eyeball what else in there. I usually put it with whatever is really important that needs to be done next, either on top, or if it's super important and I'm afraid of out of sight, out of mind, then I'll clip just the things that need to be done before the next time I check my to-dos. I clip them to the front of my action file. So if you're an out of sight, out of mind person, this is a great way to build the habit of having it in the folder and checking it regularly. But when you check it, clip the things that have to be done before the next time you check it to the very front, or lay them in the very front so that you can't miss them. And that way you can kind of be doing both. Now, if you're not really good at following along with your habits with the reminders apps or on your calendar, and you struggle with that type of thing, then it is okay to just clip all of your to-dos to the front of the file, or put a cork board on the wall right behind your action file and just pin up the things that are actually to do that need to be done before you would check it again. That is absolutely okay. Do whatever works for you. But those of you who can actually manage to remember things, if they're not in your sight, then setting those reminders are really helpful. So those are the main tabs. Now, a few other things that you might want to do, like I mentioned with the action file, we want to do 10 file folders or fewer, because the goal is to make it so our brain does not need to engage every single time we grab one of these papers. And if you have 10 or fewer decisions to make, it's so much easier for your brain. You don't have to think as hard. If you had 20 choices, then you would stand there much longer trying to remember which is the right choice to put that paper in. But 10 or fewer, and your brain can make that really quick decision without having to think very hard. And we're just trying to capture things into groups so that they don't float around the house, get lost, and become overwhelming. So those 10 categories will then filter into things like your file cabinet with more categories, or your to enter, it actually gets entered in. So you don't have to worry about getting super specific with your action file. So keep it under 10 categories. But in a moment, I will share some additional folders that you might want to add to your action file so you can customize it and make it more of your own. Really quickly, I see that we have a bunch of new people who've hopped on. We've got Sarah. I already said, yeah, hi, Sarah from Bradenton, Jan's from Omaha, and Sue from Boston. Cindy, I already said hi a little bit when I answered your tabs, but officially, hi. And then there's Emmy and Kathy and somebody I don't see the name. Facebook did not show the name, but hello. She says, thank you, beautiful Suzanna Kaye. You're so awesome. She knows me and my hello, beautiful. So I'm glad that you're all joining me. If you have any questions at all, this is your chance to ask them so you can work on your action file throughout the weekend. I see Lorraine just joined. Welcome from Seattle. And Cindy's from Michigan. Awesome. It's so great to have all of you here. I love it. All right, so some other things that you can do with your action file to customize it for some various categories that might work for you. A couple of other folders that I've had people add before. If there's papers that go to somebody else, then that's a really easy folder. Like if your kids come in with papers a lot, then you can have one called To Mom. You could also have one called, like for me, my husband Moose Pie is what I call him. I could have To Moose Pie. His real name is Jeff. I'd probably put Jeff on the file folder, although Moose Pie would make me smile. And I do like to sometimes give my file folders fun names to make me smile. But I might write something like To Moose Pie, and then anything that is for Moose Pie could go into his folder, and then he can take things from there into his action file. So if it goes to somebody else, that can be a great folder to have if you've got multiple people in the house. If you like to grab a lot of different things to try out, whether it's a craft idea or an exercise or a recipe, or even things that you've pulled out from a magazine catalog to buy, you can have a to try folder. And this to try folder, anything that you've not tried before, but you found that's new and you wanted to start using or try out, could go in your to try folder. And the nice thing is then it's all captured in one place. And the way it gets out of your to try folder is to actually try it. So this would encourage you to actually use those recipes. And if you really love them, then they can make it into your recipe folder wherever you put your recipes. If you don't like it, then it never wanders around your house and ends up there, but you don't forget about things. And what I find happens with a lot of these folders is when you look at them again later, then you weed out the things that you're really not as interested in. So maybe at the time you're really excited about that green bean casserole recipe. And then when you're looking through your to try folder, when you're browsing through it, you realize, oh, you know, I have 5 green bean casserole recipes in here. I'm going to whittle it down to 1 and try that. So this really helps weed things out before they hit your main systems as well. So to try is a really good one. If you still pay things manually or you have a lot of things to pay that you keep track of, then a to pay folder can be really good. And you could put any bills that have to be paid or anything that has to do with a payment that you need to verify that went through. So if you are more comfortable having a separate folder for things that have to do with payments, that's a good folder for you. There is to call. So to call would be if you have a lot of phone calls that you find that you have to make. Maybe you're a caregiver for somebody and there's a million medical phone calls to follow up on or things like that. Then you can have a to call folder and then all of your calls can go in there. And then what you do is when you have time to sit down and make some phone calls, you can just grab the whole folder and start dialing and knocking things off your list. And it's a great way to batch your tasks for phone calls. If you have a lot of things that you either have to wait for from other people or that you wait to have come in, if you have orders that you wait to come in the mail, things like that, to follow up is a really good one. So anything where you've completed your part of the action and now you're waiting for somebody else to complete theirs, then if there's a lot of them, you could have a to follow up folder. This works really well if you have a business. Only at home, if you have a whole lot of things, would I do a to follow up folder. So most of the time, these could just go in your to do folder. But in case you have a ton, then that's one. You can have, if you don't have space for a shredder right near your action file, then you can have a folder called to shred. Or if you prefer to shred in a chunk, or if you burn your papers instead or drop them off at a shredder, then having one folder for anything that just needs to be shred can be great. This is really good if you don't have a whole lot of space in your home near your action file. So that way, anything that needs to be shred can just go in the folder, and when it gets full, it gets shred. And then to research. Those administrator personality types, if you've taken the personality type quiz, then you'll know if you're an administrator, you guys love your research. So if you have a number of things that you really like to look into deeper, then a to research folder is great. So when you get maybe that insurance offer and you want to see if it's a better offer than what you're currently paying, or if you find an article that you find is really interesting that you want to learn more about, throw it into research. And then whenever you have time to go through and research things, they're right there for you and they're not taking up all the space in your to-do folder and wasting that brain energy. And then sometimes we do have a special project that's taking up a whole lot of paper space. So around tax time, maybe it's taxes, or if you're, like I mentioned, a caregiver and the person has a number of medical issues, then you might have one folder simply for, like insurance follow-up or upcoming doctor's visits or something like that. So if there is one, maybe two projects, don't get a lot of projects in here because again, 10 folders or fewer and most things can go in the to-do folder. But if you have more than 10 papers a week coming in on a project, then you might need a specific project folder just for the length of the project. So something like taxes, once you filed your taxes, that folder can then be worked into your main file cabinet or tax storage system. And you don't have to keep that folder there, but temporarily, if you're remodeling the house, a house remodeling folder is useful. But those are a come and go type of thing or a very special situation. So Kathy asks, she says, so far my folders include to do, to read, to enter, and to file, and to try or use. Perfect. Yep, those are great folder titles. And as you're using your action file, you can change things around. So if you find that you're not using the to try or to use file folder very often, if your to-do folder is enough for that and it's not causing a problem, then maybe you get rid of it. Or maybe if you find that, wow, my to-do folder is filling up with a lot of research projects that I find for myself, I really need to separate them out so it's not so overwhelming, then that's when you can add in the to research. So really play around with it. I say try it for 30 days with the very core basic folders and then add in what you need as you need them. But try not to go crazy at the beginning. Only create new folders if you find that you really need it. If it's overwhelming your to-do file, then that's when a new folder is appropriate. If it's not overwhelming your to-do file, then sticking with just the to-do will make it so much easier because we don't want to get too many categories for our brain. Junda says, the longer ongoing projects, I use a project bin. So I don't use one of my 10 folders. That is fantastic. Absolutely. Great idea. Thank you so much for sharing that. You could also put like a magazine holder, one of those stand-up type of magazine holders right next to your action file for any project stuff. Separating out longer ongoing project information is great. And any information for that longer project could go in the to file folder or in your to-do until you can bring it up and put it away so that you can still quickly stash it in your action file if you don't have space for that project bin next to it. But if you have space, that like Jonna does, that's perfect. So great questions. If you have any other questions, please let me know. It's so exciting to see all of you have so much success with your action files. And as you know, on Sunday evening, the paper path, if you have other papers that you want help with. Maybe you have a lot of papers to sort, or you want to go through your file cabinet and make it more efficient and make it work for you better, or specialty papers, important papers, any of that information that you want help with, then remember that the Paper Path membership is closing next week, and Sunday the price goes up. So if you are interested in the Paper Path, then we have a bunch of Pathfinders who are doing amazing things in there and finally conquering their papers, even when they have an overwhelming amount of papers that they're sorting or that they have had struggles with papers their whole lives, like I used to. Then the Paper Path is a great place because we break it down step by step, one tiny bite at a time, getting through all of the papers in your home. And we start with the action file. So when you join the Paper Path, then if you've already got your action file set up, then you can look through the action file section and find any extra tips, find some of the downloads that I have for action file little cheat sheets that I think, let me see if I have one in here. Yeah, so in the Pathfinders, in their online library, I created some little cheat sheets that you can print out and tape inside of some of your folders as reminders of what the folder does and the examples of types of papers that can go into it. So just a reminder, that does close. The price goes up on Sunday. So if you're interested, just hop on over there before Sunday. I added the link to the comments if you need it. But back to the tips. I see we have Dorothy said, How to file coupons? That is a great question. And you can have an actual file that says coupons if you want to, or what you could also do in either your to-do folder or a to-file folder, or in the very front folder, an empty front folder where you keep your supplies, you could keep your coupon, if you have a coupon envelope, then you can keep it right in the front. And whenever a coupon comes in, you could put it in that envelope. And then when you go shopping, you could grab it and take it to the store. For me, what I like to do is I actually throw them in my to-do folder, or I put them right on top of my purse. So that way, if I put it in the to-do folder, then I remember when I'm going through my to-dos and I come across it, I'm like, oh yeah, and I put that next to my purse. If it's on my purse, then once it gets to my car with my purse, then I keep my coupon folder in the glove box of my car, so I can't forget to bring it with me, because it never fails. You know, I go to Bed Bath and Beyond or Bath and Body Works, and I've got a coupon at home, and that's so frustrating. So I try to get it to my purse. But if you will remember to grab your coupon holder, then just throw it right in your action file, and new coupons can go in there. The same with receipts. So if you have receipts that simply need to be filed for taxes, possibly, then you could put just that month's envelope and label the envelope with the month and the fact that it's receipts, and stick it in your to-file folder. And then whenever a receipt comes in that you actually need to keep and file for the long term, it can go right in that envelope in your to-file, so you'll always have it. And then at the end of the month, you can change out to the next envelope and file away the other one. So that's a great way if you do have like your own business or some medical expenses that you can actually claim on your taxes, then it's a great place to be able to put those receipts. Otherwise, I say with receipts, I usually just keep them in like to-do, and then if I do need to return an item, then I know that the receipt's in my to-do folder. You can even have just an envelope for that too. It could just be receipts. It would be in my to-do folder, and then I can pull that receipt out to make that return. But once that return period's over, or I decide that I want to keep the item, I can let go of the receipt, so it never hits my main file system and clutters everything up. Deborah asks, will the PaperPath reopen in the future, the PaperPath membership? It will. So probably around fall, we will reopen, but it's going to be a very different pricing structure. I'm reorganizing a few things, so it won't be right now until Sunday at midnight. Sunday what is today? Is it the 10th? So Sunday the 11th of April, 2021 at midnight, the price will go up. Right now it's $14 a month or $70 for 6 months. On Sunday at midnight, it will go up to $19 a month or $90 for 6 months. But when it reopens, then it will be going, it's probably going to be a initial investment, a larger initial investment. And then the membership portion will be a smaller investment, but it will be an ongoing. So it's going to eventually be a very different structure. So right now, if you can get in right now, then when the pricing changes, you keep whatever you sign up under. As long as you stay active, you stay at the same rate. So I would encourage you to join now while it is that lower rate before the prices go up, so you can keep that. Even with the restructuring and everything, you'll get everything that is included in the PaperPath, but you'll be able to keep that special pricing. So I hope that helps to answer your question. I think I answered your question. But yes, it will reopen, but very differently. So another thing that I wanted to mention, in your to enter or within your to file, you can also keep, if you have like a business card holder and you keep a lot of business cards, that's another thing that you can throw right inside of your action file. You can even keep it in the front section. What I like to do is I keep an empty file folder. And within that empty file folder, that's where I keep my supplies. So pens, binder clips. If you write checks, you can keep your checkbooks, stamps. If you like to write letters and things, Post-it notes, highlighter, stapler, all of that stuff I have right in the very front. And also in the very front, when you're in the PaperPath, we share something called your paper policy. And your paper policy is a listing of all of the paper decisions that you've made. And it tells you exactly where you've decided to store everything, what your retention policies are. It keeps track of all of your decisions. So once you make your decision on the paper once, you don't have to ever try to remember what your decision was again. But something like a paper policy, or if you have the How Long to Keep Important Documents guide, or any of your reference sheets, in that very front unlabeled folder in your action file where your supplies go, you can keep kind of a reference folder for all of those things that you reference all the time. And it can have just, you don't want a whole lot of them, but it can have just whatever reference sheets that you have and refer to. Stick it right in there, and then you will have things like your paper policy for my new Pathfinders. I think that I saw a couple of new Pathfinders on, actually. And when you do your paper policy over in the, I believe it's in the quick sort section, where we walk through how to sort through your paper piles, I believe the paper policy is there. But once you do your paper policy, that's a great place for it. Hi, Lee. Lee says, I'm a 6-month member. Would I be able to renew either monthly or 6 months this summer for the current price? I believe I joined in January. So what you can do, Lee, if you're a 6-month member, just shoot me an email at hello@suzannakaye.com. I'll write that in the comments too. hello@suzannakaye.com. And when you write that, write to me, just let me know that you're a 6-month member and you want to change over to monthly. And what we'll do, because you signed on in January, whatever the price was in January for the monthly, we will just transfer you over. We'll have to have you, leave the 6-month and rejoin as the monthly, but we'll keep it at the January rate. So that way you are still, as long as you're active, then we want to keep you at the rate that you joined on, even if you change plans. So I hope that makes sense. So shoot me an email, and either myself or Stephanie will make sure that we can switch you over to the monthly rate from January, because I believe that in January it might have been a $12 rate. So yeah, but welcome. I'm glad that you're here, Lee. And I see somebody says, does not show the name, I have way too many business cards. How long is recommended to hold on to? It depends on the business cards. Most of the time, we don't actually ever look back at them, though. So I would say with business cards, when you're looking through them, if you don't remember exactly who that person is or why you kept the card, if you don't have that personal relationship with whatever that company is, I'd say let it go, because you don't remember if it's something you picked up at the dry cleaners off the counter or if your best friend recommended it. Most of the time what we do is when we're looking for something, we try to find new information at that time. So you can always reach out to your friends or neighbors. There's so many places to find, highly rated businesses when you need them versus holding on to the old business cards. Now, any that you do remember, if you pull something up, you're like, oh, that's my best friend's Tupperware card. So I want to make sure to keep her information for ordering Tupperware from her. Those are the ones that if you still remember, you can keep those. But yeah, I say let go of any that you don't still have that long-term memory about, because you don't even know why they're special. So it's just as good as calling somebody out of the phone book at that point, because you have no idea why you even have the card. So Danielle says, me too, to Cindy. And Sue says, is the paper path part of the Spark Life Binder? It's not part of the Spark Life Binder. So the Spark Life Binder is a binder that helps you organize all of your important information and papers to quick grab and go in an emergency or anything like that. In the paper path, we do have a section that walks you through if you wanted to build your own. It'll take you step by step through building your own Spark Life Binder, or you will get the reduced price for the Spark Life Binder. You get a paper path member price for the Spark Life Binder. But it does not actually include the Spark Life Binder. They work hand in hand instead, if that makes sense. So the paper path and the Spark Life Binder go together really well, but they're not required for each other. Hi, Janelle. Janelle says, oh, the Pathfinder group has been so worthwhile for me. I'm also 3/4 of the way through organizing my Spark Life Binder. That's awesome. Woot, woot. I love it. Getting rid of old papers every week. I'm finally seeing a light at the end of the paper tunnel. Oh, that's wonderful, Janelle. I have seen so much that you've done. Oh, it disappeared. There we go. I've seen so much that you've done in the paper path. It's been amazing watching your progress and hearing about your successes. The Pathfinders also have their own private Facebook group, which Janelle has been in and shared some of our successes as well. You are absolutely rocking it. I love it. Thank you, Janelle. Oh, yeah, the Facebook user just said thank you. Sorry, I don't know your name. Oh, Linda. Linda says, what's a phone book, right? The phone book is the thing that you use to prop up the leg of your table that's really short and wobbly, but you don't use it for anything else. It's that thing that they annoy you with by mailing to you, and then you feel bad recycling something this big because you don't use it anymore. Oh, I love it. Well, if you have any other questions about the action file or about the paper path, then I would love to answer any questions that you have right now. If you don't already have your paper path, I have the paper path action file, or not paper path, the action file guide. So if you did want to, over in the Facebook group, I've got an easy, quick link for this in the announcements section. But if you're not in the Facebook group, then this is the link. You can download the guide that walks you through setting up your action file. And there's a quick little video that goes along with it. And that's for free if you wanted to. And you'll have the list to the supplies, your action file supply list will be there, and all of that great things. So as far as the action file, that whole incoming papers challenge that's going on through the weekend, the posts for this challenge will stay in the guides section of the Facebook group through to the end of next weekend. So you still have time. Don't worry if you're not completely caught up, if you don't have your whole action file built and start using it yet. The good thing is it takes minutes, thankfully, to build this action file and get it started, which that's my favorite type of project, one that takes minutes. But throughout next week and throughout the end of that weekend, I will keep all of the daily tasks and the videos in the guides section of the Facebook group. So you can find it there. And I'm going to also share, there's a link to the Facebook group in the comments if anybody is not already a member of the Facebook group. So there you go. Linda says, love, love, love you and my action file freedom. Oh, I love it. That's a great quote. Thank you, Linda. You're doing amazing too. Linda's another one. She's over in the Facebook group posting all the time. I love it. So that's how you join the Facebook group. And then you can see some of Linda's posts and all of the others. Let's see. And also, I wanted to welcome some of our new Pathfinders. We've had a bunch of new Pathfinders join this week. So Rosila and Chris and Gloria and Sharon and Patricia and Kathy and Phyllis and Wanda. There's two Wandas, Wanda and Wanda. Wanda S and Wanda F, I believe. Yep, F. And Marlene, Terry, Mary, Bonnie, Linda, Nancy, Reese, and Charlene have all joined the paper path. And I'm super excited to have you joining me. And I am here for you the whole time as you go through the path. So keep working through your online library. Just take the steps that I show you one step at a time. Tiny little bites, which is awesome. All right, if you have any questions, now is your chance to ask. And yeah, we're just going to wrap up this live in just a couple minutes. But if you're watching on the replay, you can still ask your questions in the comments or post questions in the Facebook group. You can even post it just as a post, and not only myself, but Stephanie and the whole group can help answer your questions, because our group is filled with brilliant people. You guys are all so smart and amazing and helpful. So whenever you post a success or a struggle or a question in the Facebook group, then people are always there to help out. And I absolutely love the excitement that everybody has there. Wanda asks, you briefly explain the Spark Life Binder. Yes, I can. The Spark Life Binder is basically a 3-ring binder that you can either, if you're setting it up yourself through the paper path and those steps, then you can set it up there. But the Spark Life Binder product is, you can purchase it, and it's a download, and you can build this binder with all of these worksheets to walk you through exactly what important information, not just your regular like daily bills, but the really important information, the bank account information, life insurance information, so much. There's like 80 plus pages in the Spark Life Binder, and it's all worksheets where you're just answering the questions about all of this important information. And it's a great place to gather all of those important papers. So if some emergency came up, which we all know right now that life is super crazy and we never know what's going to happen. So if something were to come up and you had to grab and go with all of your important information, or if you needed information really quickly, like you wanted to access, if your credit card got stolen and you needed to find out what your credit card number was in order to fill out the police report, all of those things are going to be right in your binder. So that's what the Spark Life Binder is. It's done all of the formatting, all of the research, made all the decisions for you. You simply walk through it and answer the questions on the worksheet, which makes such a huge difference. Let me see if I can find information about, I'm going to look up the article on my site that says a little bit more about it too, and I'll share that link with you. Here we go. Takes just a second for all of it to come up. But right now on the blog, there's an article. You can go to my SuzannaKaye.com website, and then you will see that there's in the blog, when you click on blog, you'll see organize all your important papers is the article name. And that shows you a whole lot more about what the Spark Life Binder is. And it also, if you wanted to set up your own from scratch instead, it'll walk you through step by step what's in it, how to do it, all of that good stuff. So check out the blog article, and that can go even better into it than I can. I always stumble on my words, but that one's better. Wanda says, economically, is it better to buy the Life Binder or the paper path? You know, they're different. They're both very different uses. So it's kind of like asking, you know, should I buy a toothbrush or floss? They kind of go together. And it depends if you feel overwhelmed by all of the papers in your home, if you have a whole lot of papers to sort, or your papers are not very organized and that's extremely stressful for you, then I would say start with the paper path. And with the paper path, then you can get the Spark Life Binder through the paper path membership. There's a link in there when you're ready. If you feel a little bit more confident with your papers and you're worried a lot more about, being able to find the important papers when you need them, and that's what's keeping you up at night, then I'd say start with the Spark Life Binder and get that going. But like I said, they do work hand in hand. A lot of people actually get both at the same time, so that way they can work through the paper path and have their Life Binder there as they find papers when they're sorting with information. Then it's easier to just quickly fill it in their Spark Life Binder because they can have it right next to them as they're going through the paper path. But sadly, there's no right or wrong answer on that one. It's all up to you what is causing you the most stress right now. And Lee says, the links are not showing in my comments anymore. Oh, that's not cool. Well, I'm trying to put them on the screen whenever they're there. So Lee, if you can just, when you watch this replay, then you can hopefully pause on that section and write down the link, or maybe after the replay or after this live is done, maybe you can pop back in and see if the links show up in that section. But you can also always email me at hello@SuzannaKaye.com. And if you email me at hello@SuzannaKaye.com and ask about any of the links I shared, I will gladly share them with you again. All right. I want to make it as easy as possible as I can. But sadly, Facebook and YouTube, I cannot control how they work. I wish I could. Well, these are the last few minutes of our live. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. I have absolutely loved seeing all of you over in the Facebook group. If you're not already a member of the Facebook group, then on Facebook, you can look up Home Organizing Challenges, or I'm sharing the link on the screen and in the comments right now. But if you look up the Home Organizing Challenges group, then you can find the free Home Organizing Challenges group by me. And we have so much fun there. Kathy asked, how many gigabytes flash drive is needed for the Spark Life Binder? Not even one. It's under a gigabyte. And usually what I say is if you are going to scan and store a number of scanned copies of your papers on a USB drive, then I'd say, you know, maybe a couple gigabytes should be enough. If you don't plan to scan a bunch of papers and store them with your Spark Life Binder file, or if you're primarily using the paper version, if you're going to print it out and create the paper version of the Spark Life Binder, or I actually do both. I have my paper version because I work better with paper, but then my backup is the digital copy and some scans. Then if you're doing primarily paper, you probably don't even need a whole gigabyte. But if you are storing a bunch of scans, then maybe a couple. You know, one is probably enough. Two, if you've got a ton, or if you're scanning them as images. So it varies, but not a big one. Elaine says, ah, she says, love my binder. Have added a section for latest medical for procedures, appointments, etc. Oh, that's a great idea. I love that. You guys are all so creative. You blow my mind how smart you are. And I absolutely love that. I'm so glad that you're loving your Spark Life binder and that you shared that with me. Awesome. You all are fantastic. If you need anything at all throughout this weekend or throughout the week as you're going through the last bits of your action file, or if you're in the paper path or the Spark Life binder or both, I've got so many people who actually do both because they work so well together, then you know exactly how to find me. You can reach me anytime through the groups. You can email me, and myself and Stephanie, who you see, our community manager, who's amazing. Both of us are there making sure to help you as quickly as we possibly can. Plus, if you post questions in the group, our entire community and all of our groups, the Spark Life Binder has a private group, Pathfinders have a private group, and the free private group for the home challenges. But there's always support in so many different ways that you will never be alone. But you've absolutely got this. You're doing fantastic. Remember, it's just one tiny bite at a time. You don't need to finish it all over one weekend, right? I mean, your papers did not get cluttered or overwhelming in one weekend. They won't get undone in one weekend. But I promise you, if you're taking those small bites and you're not giving up, then you will absolutely make it. I know it. You're doing so wonderful. Linda says, we need t-shirts like yours. It says, I'm surprised you can even read it. It's hard in this light. It says, hello, beautiful. I made this one, actually. I made myself this t-shirt. So maybe I need to start selling t-shirts, right, Linda? So great to see all of you. You're beautiful, you're wonderful, and you're doing great things. Keep it up, and I love you. I will see you very soon over in the group. Have a wonderful day. Bye, loves.